Zig Ziglar once said, "You can have everything you want in this life by helping enough people get what they want." And my friends, that's exactly what the RizeX movement is all about. I'm on a mission. We are on a mission of helping people become more, live higher, and elevate business. Now, who is it that we're in this journey to help? It's people just like you and me, driven individuals that are in the pursuit of building stronger communities. We all have vested interest in where we live, and this RizeX movement will help change you personally and professionally. We have the opportunity so often to be coached by each other, to learn from experiences of each other, to be mentored by other professional business owners that have gone before and learned the things that you need to learn. We connect people all across the world to help drive their personal and their professional lives more effectively. We have the opportunity from a training perspective to learn from some professionals that have experiences that have paved the way before you, to be mentored by them, but more importantly, to learn from their training, their presentations and education. Finally, we have the opportunity to grow together. You know, there's not very many things you can take after this life is over, but you can take the things that we learn, connecting driven individuals in the pursuit of building stronger communities. So come join us as we become more together, as we live higher together, and as we build businesses together. Are you already recording? We're going? Okay, cool.
It's like we've been doing this for...
We've been doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, Renee, we're back.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be back.
It's so fun. I love these conversations because now we're going to go into February. Let's recap January a little bit.
Okay.
So we had understanding the target demographic, really understanding the dynamics. We had James Ullman with us.
So good.
Phenomenal presentation.
Yeah. It's made me think about, okay, what is the demographic that I'm specifically looking for, and how do I create something that interests them?
Yeah.
And think about it that way instead of just, here's for the masses.
Well, what was so intriguing to me, and I've heard him teach this before because he's been one of my mentors, but he talked about building like a persona, like an actual person, and all of the dynamics of what's happening in their life so that the communication can happen most effectively.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that, right? You have demographics, you have age, you have where they live, all the different elements there, but when you really dive deep and you start looking at customer experiences in terms of reviews, it really changes that persona a little bit, and it changes the messaging associated with that.
Yeah, it does. You know, I have definitely been in that trap of all my customers are just like me.
Yeah.
And so this is the way that I should do it. And, thankfully, people have opened my eyes that that's not the way that it should be. But what a great presentation on, you really got to think about what is happening in their lives, what are they going through, and what can you fix for them?
Yep. And the next step, the next phase of that, in my opinion, and why we're bringing Angie Leon to the table, is we're talking about personalities now and diving even more in depth to so there are different people, they consume information differently, but how do we communicate with them based on their habitual character, their personality profile, all of those crazy things. So what do you think that's going to do for these
I have to tell you, one of my very favorite things
Okay.
is taking personality tests. Don't you love it? Don't you love to kind of figure out how you tick? Well, I think the great thing that we learn about this, and Angie will teach us, is that it's not that you're right and they're wrong or whatever, or how to manipulate people. This is the way that you communicate, being a certain personality type. And this is the way that I communicate or receive communication, being my personality type. So let's respect that we're all different and that there's different ways that we communicate. I just use Kevin and myself as an example. Kevin's my husband, and he's very introverted and, quiet, and my spazzy nature at times can really be annoying to him. So we have to think about that as we're doing our presentation to our customers, that
That's right.
I'm not the right flavor for everybody. Maybe he is for some people. And so how do we use all of that?
I had a fascinating conversation with a good friend of mine, Art McCracken, who's the Chief Strategy Officer for Lular.
Yeah.
Big company, lots
Love
of
it.
dynamics.
Yeah.
And he was sharing with me yesterday, he said, what we have to understand is we can't make excuses just because we're a certain personality profile, right? It gives us the
So
opportunity
true.
to say, yes, you fit into this, so I should communicate, but that's when growth sometimes is stifled a little bit, right? Because it's like, well, making an excuse like, well, you just have to communicate with me like that because that's who I
Right,
am.
that's who I am.
Right? And so personality profiles can be a powerful thing. They can also be a dangerous thing.
I know.
Because it opens up this dialogue of, well, okay, so that is your persona, but how do we leverage that for growth? Right? How do we leverage that and communicate? We actually had a fascinating conversation yesterday, and he said, have you considered what you're doing at RizeCon and RizeX? The way you're communicating, right? Because he was talking about the 4 lenses of green, blue, gold, and orange,
Okay.
which are a little bit different than, it's probably fit into the same dynamic
There's
of the
so
disc
many
profile.
different
There's so many
ones,
different ways to do it. But he was saying, the green people are very data driven. So they want statistics, they want how-tos. The blues are like happy to be there. They're social, right?
It's just a feeling.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so as he was giving me examples, he's like, maybe you should consider in your messaging, your marketing messaging, having certain types of language for certain interested behaviors.
Data.
And data.
Feels.
Yep. And certain feels, and then the golds and the oranges, like exciting, those would be the high eyes and the high.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, you
On
and
the
me both.
color code, it's yellow.
It's yellow.
So, yes.
That's right. So it's fascinating to me. I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have because, like you said, you've been running a successful business and in the family for 80 years.
I know.
And this is it's not new, I've heard about it for a long time, but have we really taken that idea of people are different into our marketing messages, into our experiential messages, even when someone walks in? Maybe not marketing per se externally, but when they walk in, what happens?
Yeah, and I can tell you, no. I think that we get a little bit, if people want to come to us, they're going to come to us. If we're the right fit, we're the right fit.
That's
and
right.
we think we're all of that when we really do need to understand that everybody ticks a little bit differently. I can pick on you a little because you're an engineer by training, and so I can tell you there's a different communication style,
right.
and it's more of that data-driven, straightforward, over the touchy-feely kind of thing. Well, there's a whole lot of people who think that way.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we are being sensitive to the way that they like to be communicated to. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
It seems hard though, Ryan, as a business owner. What are you going to tell me? I got to figure out how to do marketing based on every personality? That seems hard.
Well, hopefully what we'll learn in the presentation with Angie this next month is she'll give us some ideas about how we can more effectively communicate.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect. And listen, the game of marketing has turned more to a science than it has a science and an art than it has an actual previous traditional marketing of just push communication. But above and beyond just marketing, obviously marketing is my passion, but above and beyond that, like every business has an opportunity to create individualized marketing and individualized communication that will significantly increase the revenue associated with what's happening.
Well, I think the difference these days is that we have the opportunity by all that we're doing, and especially in your business digitally, to be very strategic and specific. When we were putting up billboards, how do you know who's going to drive by and look at it? And again, nothing wrong with that, but this is it is an art.
It is.
Because who exactly are we talking to? And we can focus them specifically.
Well, and the best thing that we're going to do with this whole process, right, is next month in March, we're going to bring success stories of just like you. You're going to be on the
Exciting.
panel.
Thank you.
But you're going to be we're going to have conversations about how people have done it, right? There's an education piece, but if now we can bring some validation through people who've actually done a good job of accomplishing that experience, then we can begin to really see the practical application for each of us.
So just a little tease on that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that has been really, and maybe for business owners who are listening to this going, oh my gosh, it's just so much. When we implemented some of the technology that we implemented, it pleased several of our markets. So we do a very specific multi-point inspection of which we send our customers on a text or however you look at it.
Right.
But for the data people, they love it because it's very specific, very black and white. But for the feels people, they're like, you know what, they care about me. They're not just trying to sell me stuff.
That's exactly right.
So there are things that we can implement that feed or service multiple people.
Well, and then for the yellow person, I was like, I got a text.
I know, right? I didn't get to look at that, and I'm so important because they know all about
They
me.
validate, but it's that point of validation. And we're going to talk a lot more about this. Like we've talked about, this whole year is all about the customer journey. And as my good friend is actually going to come speak at RizeCon. The CSO, Chief Strategy Officer, Art McCracken, he's going to come and speak with us.
Yay.
And the things that he's learned, the guy is extremely intelligent. So we'll be happy to have him with us. He's excited.
Man, we're already talking about RizeCon.
Oh man, we're gearing up. This year is going to be awesome, and the VIP experience that's going to happen this year is going to be unlike nothing we've done before.
I guess I better save my pennies and
save your pennies, put them in your piggy bank.
Okay.
Come engage with us, right? Come be a part of us, because we're trying to build that out through all of our RizeX process as well, the RizeX movement. So
excellent.
Well, Renee, as always, it's good to be with you. We're getting ready to launch February. I was going to say January, but it's February.
Oh, it's crazy.
Already? Mm-hmm. We're going to launch February, and we're going to come back and share some insights, some cool insights of what we've learned in our March and April and May podcasts as we launch the first of the month podcast. So thanks for being with me again.
Always. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.